Our first success story is Jack, a feral dog from a hoarding case. Jack was in this pen for 3 years. This was his entire world and all he ever knew. Until the hoarder, which had him, was busted, and he went to a foster home. He lived in a nice stable stall, but he never came out of his doghouse. So we had to help Jack so he could live in the house with other dogs. Jack wanted to bite the leash, so the first thing I taught him not to do was to bite the leash. Jack's first understandable conversation with a human was me telling him not to bite the leash. I did this by simply stepping closer to Jack when he bit the leash and stepping away as a reward when he let go of the leash. He started moving when I would get in his space a little bit, so I used this technique to move him around the stall. And I knew if I could just get him out of the stall, he would start walking. And he did. Jack is moving on a leash. And he enjoys a nice long pee here out of his stall. Jack's first walk is in his entire life is here in the barn and then outside on the farm. It looks a little rough around the edges, but as time goes on, Jack will get better at walking on a leash. His muscles are likely also atrophied from being in the stall for so long and hiding in his doghouse. Jack starts sniffing the ground like a normal dog and enjoys peeing outside again, most likely to give my dog a little information about him. After some time, we head back to the barn. Jack puts up a little resistance every now and then, but generally he walked very well on leash. After we get back in the barn, he eats some tuna out of my hand. He seems to enjoy a little massage by me, closing his eyes and relaxing. The second session with Jack was a week later, and he comes out of his stall so much easier this time. He pees again to kind of tell my other dog what he's about, and Jack asks her to give him some space, which she does. Jack did much better on his walk this time. He looks reasonably happy and is moving at a nice pace here and enjoying some exercise. Exercise outside is a great reward for dogs. It's such a natural thing for them to do and can help them progress out of fear. After his walk, we relaxed in the yard afterwards with his foster mom. And once he could walk on leash, he could go live in the house. Jack then learned how to come inside with the rest of the dogs when called. He stayed with me for a short vacation, and we walked around my neighborhood. He learned how to go out in the farm and not run away. He liked the safety of the new house and his other dog friends. Thanks to his fantastic patient foster mom, Jack learned how to be a dog. You can see him here with his tail up, running around, having fun, and acting like a normal, happy dog. This whole process took about 9 months, so when working with fearful dogs, realize it takes time. Jack was adopted by his foster mom and now lives life as a happy pet. Our next dog is Didi Domingo. Dee Dee miraculously was found by a vet technician that worked for a neurologist after she was hit by a car along the highway in New Mexico. She was taken to the neurologist clinic and treated for a brain bleed. She also had 2 bullets in her leg from a previous incident. Her head was tilted and she appeared to have a little bit of vision loss, but otherwise healthy. She was cleared by the vet for activity and we tried to get her to walk. This is likely her first time on leash as well, and she is trying to hide behind everything and go around the edge of the room. To get her into a foster home, we had to get her to walk on a leash. First time having a dog walk on a leash, the process can be a little chaotic, but again, I knew if she went outside, she would walk. She tried to hide at first, and she was having a hard time, so I just sat down with her for a little bit. And then we tried to walk again. She did a little bit of alligator rolling to try and get the leash off of her. But I just waited for her to calm down, and I tried again. And this time she walked along the building. Well, more crawling, but it's good progress at this point. Going potty outside is a nice reward for Dee Dee after her hard work. Going back to the clinic, she walks easier because she wants to go back to where she feels safest. The second time we try and walk along the wall, she does much better. Walking outside must feel good after being in the vet clinic for a week. Dogs really don't want to have to stay inside. They love to be outside. Patience with these dogs is a necessity. A half-hearted roll here is a little protest, but then after me waiting for a bit, she gets up and walks the rest of the way to the fence. I give Dee Dee a break, then try again. Then when we get to the gate, we take a little break and look around. I give her a little pet here, which she seems to enjoy. And then we head back to the vet clinic. See, when I reach for the leash, she turns her head. So that's a good sign that she doesn't want conflict with people. The third time walking along the building today, she walks much better. She's almost standing up. And of course, I'm taking it slow because she was in an accident. After our session, Dee Dee gets a nice massage. She closes her eyes and seems to enjoy it. We can move Dee Dee to a foster home. This is her first day at her foster home. Moving a dog to a new outdoor area can help them explore if the leash training is at least partially done. Here she's enjoying seeing grass probably for the first time. Two weeks later, we get a little concerned that Dee Dee is having balance or vision issues. But she's definitely walking better on a leash. The neurologist assures us it's likely just side effects and will dissipate over time. She is starting to relax in her new home. Dee Dee comes to stay with me a few months later, and her head tilt and vision are much improved.
Good girl, Dee Dee.
Foster family has been taking her on walks and giving her time and guidance to recover. Here Dee Dee is exploring my yard, and I start teaching her to come when called. Dee Dee seems to enjoy this game. and I take her out in front of my house to work on her new skills. She's learned to trust people and enjoys engaging with them. She also has learned to enjoy pets and loves neck scratches. Dee Dee is fully recovered from her injuries about 10 months later. She started to act like a pet dog. She loved going swimming with her foster sisters. She started to show her silly side. And 11 months later, Dee Dee was adopted to her very own family. Tipton is my current foster dog, and he lived on the streets with two of his brothers on the streets of Las Vegas, New Mexico, until he was trapped at 1 year of age. He had been in the shelter at least a month here and was never seen moving by the staff. You can see he urinates when I enter the kennel. He's totally shut down and terrified. But he allows me to put a collar and leash on him. He moves easily, which is surprising, and sits up for a little bit. I open the kennel door here and try and get him to leave his kennel, which he's been in for at least a month. It's always hard to get the dogs to leave the kennel. But he does so pretty well here. On our way to the play yard, Tipton stuck close to the fence line, hiding under the vines at the shelter. Dogs feel safe along the perimeter or hiding under things, and this is likely how he moved about when he was free. Once we get out in the open area, Tipton struggled quite a bit on the leash. But the play yard was close by, so we kept going, and now we made it to the play yard. Again, Tipton pees. Most dogs enjoy peeing outside when they get out of their kennel. And I establish a pattern that we practice over and over again, walking along the fence and then having a rest. We went up and down this fence several times. Tipton was very curious about me and does a polite dog sniff here. I soon realized Tipton was incredibly smart. I touch him here for the first time, and again his eyes soften and he seems to enjoy it. Once we went around the perimeter of the play yard, then we start going across the open space. It's much scarier for a fearful dog to go out in the open, but he follows me pretty well here. I give him time to comprehend what we're doing, and he follows nicely. The second time I go to work with Tipton, he was initially sitting up. When I walked in, he did lay down. The staff had reported that Tipton was sitting up more in his run, and he gets up much easier this time and follows me outside. I take him out into the field in front of the shelter. We start walking around the perimeter of the field, and Tipton follows me fairly well out here and is sniffing and using his nose a lot like a normal dog. For some reason here, Tipton is doing well until something startles him, and all I can do is hold on and wait and go in the direction he does until he calms down. I don't want to let go of the leash because I may not get him back and I don't want him to jump the fence. Staying as calm as possible while still holding the leash. He eventually calms down here. Walking around again, I wonder if this corner will cause another problem, and thankfully no, we continue without incident. But Tipton's freakout reminds me that he is very much still a feral dog. I discovered Tipton's affinity for climbing.
Yeah, good boy. Yeah.
We climbed on lots of things together each time I would work with him at the shelter. I finally brought Tipton to my house as a foster dog once he was ready. This is his first time in a house, and I have a leash on him because I'm not sure what he might do, and I don't want him to hide behind any of my furniture. After dinner and a rest, he joins us in the living room. Tipton learned to trust other people. But then COVID hit and his progress was delayed. So his circle of trust is small and includes my husband, visiting friends, family visitors, and eventually he starts playing with us, and especially my husband, who has a gift for getting dogs to play with him. Tipton loved to play with my other dogs, and they love playing with him. Being with other dogs helps fearful dogs recover, play, and also trust their environment. We did a lot of hiking and outdoor activities. Tipton loved the river, enjoyed the snow, and liked climbing mountains. Tipton learned some obedience, especially to come when called.
Good boy. There you go.
He enjoys a homemade agility course. He will likely have some residual quirks, but he is a very happy pet dog.